I've been following the Slazo situation for a few weeks now, and the more I view this, it's probably the most angriest that I've ever gotten. Seeing that someone that I watch for quite a while becomes facing something as evil and vile as this.
You darn tootin'! I'm angry! I have never been this angry in my entire life!
Like, I don't find him as the most funniest person in the world, but his content is amusing. Now, this whole thing started back in June 10th, I believe, where Slazo's ex-girlfriend, Pop, aka Shay, came out with her story of how, in her own words, how Slazo was basically an abusive boyfriend, verbally and sexually, and even had DMs to back up her own story. Now, when this whole thing came out, I wanted to believe Shay, I really do. However, there was something off about it, and I could not pinpoint what it was. However, I wanted to hear what Slazo had to say, because he could have openly admitted, he could fully denied it, or he could have other information that debunks most, if not all, her statements. And it's pretty much a rational thing to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people took it as it is, especially the well-known content creators.
Hello, my baby.
Hey,
Hello,
whoa, yo.
Hello, my ragtime pal.
Hit him. No bit. Hey, you finna die, baby.
And now, to be fair, most of them who were friends with Shay are friends. It's obviously, as a friend, you should back with them. You can argue the same with Slazo, since they knew Slazo as well. They should have at least told him, hey, it is true. It is what I hear is true. Or at least hear what he has to say. But of course, we gotta get into the court of public opinion. Now, when Slazo came out with his video of his side, basically a lot of things changed. There are a few content creators that stuck with Shay, and there are other content creators that didn't talk about it any further, or began to question themselves who is right or who is wrong. In my opinion, this shouldn't even be made in public. This should be dealt as privately as possible. And from what I'm seeing, this shouldn't be public at all. It seemed like it was over and done with, or try to be dealt privately as possible, according to Slazo. Now, we get into the tweet longer. Now, in Slazo's video, he did debunk most of it, basically questioning Shay's credibility in comparison to Slazo's response video. In her first tweet longer, she began to say, I had recently been hearing some comments from mutual friends that Slazo had been acting strange and had made some people uncomfortable, and I needed to speak out. I have been silent about this for almost 3 years now, after a lot of consideration. And talking to my closest friends, along with considering police involvement, I have decided to come out. First of all, during the whole span of the 3 weeks, nobody else came out about how much of a bad guy Slazo is. Well, except for that one girl towards the end of his video, but that was greatly debunked. From what I heard from Tommy C, apparently Shay is going to come out with round 2, and she's going to bring people that were uncomfortable with Slazo in the past. So we have to hear from her later on. She then began to say they were in a relationship from 2016 through 17. During their time, Slazo was incredibly demanding of sexual favors and would often guilt or force her into situations to which she was not comfortable. If she was trying to deny or argue against him, he would become aggressive. She did show other evidence of them two being in a movie theater. She mentions about the BJ, and then she also mentions about the unhooking of the bra scenario, which all of those were debunked, which I'll show it here.
Well, we went into the cinema, we had our first kiss, our teeth hit each other's, neither of us knew what we were doing, and I was willing to call it quits there, when she pulls my hand down and says to touch her, which is a pretty long way from how she portrays it in her version of the story. In fact, she was actually the one who brought up the entire idea of doing anything in the cinema. It was her idea, and I had no reason to believe she wasn't as in on this as I was, so I'm not sure why she made it look like this. It says that I got touchy-feely in a park, and I was making unwanted advances while she was crying and asking me to stop. and that I moved her hands to touch myself. This makes me sound like a monster, and if it did happen, I would be a monster. But this isn't how it happened. What did happen was this was a very awkward but mutual situation, where she describes I moved her hands to touch me. She did that of her own volition, and she even mentions this in Discord messages from after we met up in person, so yeah, I'm not sure why she would lie about that. And the way she talks about what happened at that park is very different from how she says it publicly. She is very much on board with it, with the messages from the time where it actually happened. And the way she talks about it then is very different from the way she talks about it in hindsight. I had absolutely no reason to suspect that she didn't want what was happening or that she wasn't on board with it. She even mentions doing other things, and I had no reason to not think that she wasn't as keen as I was. She also mentions me taking off her bra while she's crying. Firstly, I would never do this. If I ever suspected that she didn't want any advance I was making, I would stop. And also, the way she talks about it in the messages from the time gives the impression that I wasn't even intentionally trying to take off her bra, which I wasn't, so there's that. She also mentions that I was asking for a blowjob. It probably came up in conversation, maybe, that, you know, or wouldn't it be cheeky if we did it here? You know, in that way. But I never honestly wanted or expected one from her, especially in a public place.
Now, also in the tweet longer, she did mention that she was on medication. And from Slazo's video, he did say in his video that he was unemotionally unavailable for her, and that he was a bad boyfriend in general, and he regrets it. Probably when she was reduced to thinking nothing more of a sex object, in her own words, that's probably what Slazo was alluding to. So I don't know. You could argue that. The most baffling thing that I find that none of the content creators defending Shay wants to question is her second to the last paragraph in her first tweet longer. This was my first relationship and my first example of what I was to believe a relationship to be. This wasn't her first relationship. This was Slazo's first relationship. This was her forced relationship.
She also mentions later in the post that she's never been in a relationship before. This isn't the impression that I was under. I was under the impression, from these screenshots here, that she's had at least 2 boyfriends and 1 girlfriend before we ever met. So I'm not sure why she would say this, and she had more relationship experience than me when we began dating. For what?
I lost a lot of friends, opportunities, and time because of what happened, and I don't want this to happen to someone else. Why don't want this to happen to him, where one, this was his first relationship and he practically didn't know what to do? If you pointed out that he was a bad boyfriend and pointing out, but don't do it in public. I believe people can change and heavily try to believe and have benefit of the doubt for a long time regarding him and his actions, but that recent actions and information I have heard about, I can no longer overlook. Like, what information? We didn't hear from other people, and we don't know who it is, and she never brings it up. And also, they haven't even came out either. Now, this also leads up to the second tweet longer about the whole drama alert, where she mostly go against Slazo of his statements with Keemstar, of him dealing with this privately as they were in a hotel at one point talking about their situation. She worded as being uncomfortable with it, while Slazo showed him the tone of their conversation as to talking about their past dating life.
We did go to my hotel, and I didn't really push the issue very much. I asked if she wanted to come up, and she said yeah. The tone at the time was really comfortable, and if she had have said that she didn't want to come up, I wouldn't have really pressed the issue. I didn't ask multiple times if she wanted to come under the bed. I just said, hey, come up, and she did. So, yeah. We have text from the time that proved the general tone. It felt very comfortable, and I felt that she was completely fine with me by this point. I felt that our past was behind us, and we were just putting the final nail in the coffin by meeting up. I really thought this was the case.
Through the second tweet longer, she did link to her Instagram DMs with her and Slazo. In the DMs, Slazo was questioning about the tweets going up against him, and And all the conversation what Slazo says is him apologizing, regretting his decision on what he's done, and telling that going public is not going to do any good for the both of them. Meanwhile, Shay is trying to get Slazo to say names of the people that were uncomfortable by him to fit for her own narrative. Is basically what it seems like, along with just ignoring Slazo's answers and just trying to paint him much as the bad guy as needed, along with going with this publicly and ignoring Slazo's advances. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. Like, he thought that this is going to be dealt privately. This was dealt privately. The nail was in the coffin until this brings up, and it's really painful to see him watching the DMs, watching him constantly apologize, try to like make amends, still making amends. Meanwhile, Shay is just there, just going to ruin his life anyways. And they were teenagers. They weren't like couples from college. They were couples like they were in high school together. The stuff that Shay is very, very upset about, I'm not going to front. It really sucks. But it's a bad relationship, and she's skewing it to make it as if he is a predator, or he's a bad guy. It's really messed up, especially for a person like Slazo. And right now, he is 19 years old. To have his teenage life being blasted over in the internet for no good reason at all, and it's really messed up. At the end of the video, Slazo wanted to know why would she lie? Why would she lie about her relationship? Why would she lie about the things that they've done in real life? Why would she misconstrued a lot of information, including the Discord scroll video? And why would she do this? And that's what I wanted to know too. Why would she lie? What's the whole point of this? What is she trying to get out of it? So, after this whole thing dropped, other content creators defended for Shay, even though she misconstrued a lot of things, they still defended her. And one of those content creators was Blues Dank. Now, I find them particularly interesting and frustrating. Interesting because during this whole live stream, it's like he's trying to play both sides while also denouncing Michael, and that's his own prerogative. And also interesting because of how he sees this whole event, and as well as frustrating as well as some of the comments that he said about it.
Unstream Crusader, I already posed my opinions and removed them because people for some reason didn't understand that like I actually have zero involvement apart from tweeting my public opinion. I had nothing to do with the entire situation apart from tweeting my truth, because there is truth to a lot of what was posted originally. A lot of it has now been debunked. I'm surprised no one is understanding that I'm actually happy that he's managed to debunk most. Like, okay, there are a few things he's debunked, but there's also a fuck ton of stuff he needs to talk about that he missed out on purpose. Okay,
like what? Like what other things that he needs to debunk? Mostly everything that Shay talked about was debunked by Slazo. Now, there were a few he said, she said moment, but even then, those were backed up from the tone of the conversation. You know, what else does he need to talk about?
And this is the last time I'm going to speak of it. I don't want anyone else's. I want to talk about it because I don't think people understand how heavy it is for us lot as well. It's been heavy since we found out. It might not seem like it, but like we're really bad at dealing with this stuff. We all are. Everyone involved is terrible at dealing with stuff, him included.
Yeah, at least you guys get to at least one day face through this, and then in a few weeks get to move on with your daily lives. Meanwhile, Slazo has to wake up every day knowing the fact that his friends backstabbed him, and walk around every hour, every minute, every fucking second, knowing that his friends betrayed him, knowing that there's really no one to trust. Like, honestly, like Slazo is feeling like if anyone is suffering the most, it's Slazo, because all the mental gymnastics he has to go through before Shay's statement put out, and what he's dealing with right now is just agonizing.
So I kind of just wish that those guys can hopefully deal with it privately and get it sorted. I was one of the few people that said it should be dealt privately. Go to the police if this is a serious issue. And that was ignored. So I already felt quite annoyed when it was released anyway, because I was like, regardless of like how bad it is, I feel like it should be private.
Yeah, no shit, this should be dealt privately. And if you are aware that this should be made privately, then why would you go out in public telling Shay that she is brave, and also giving your comment on how much of a bloke he is, or how much of a creep he is online? If you wanted to make this as private as possible for Shay, and even if it's ignored, at the very least, contact Shay privately and say how brave she is. Like, at least do that. You know, like, you can't just go around saying I was one of the few people that want to make this private, you know, and then turn around and say, "So brave, Shay. Thank you for standing up for all women. You are a saint to millions." Like honestly,
Like what I've done, because trust me, I've read more than just one thing. I've read a lot of stuff on it. I've been talking a lot about it, and it's been driving me insane. Trust me.
Oh, there's more there is to it. Well, then I guess we have to wait and see.
If you were to talk about this publicly, you would feel like shit, because if you were canceling him, which I don't agree with anyway, I hate cancel culture, and I wasn't trying to feed into it. I understand now looking at the tweets. Yes, I did give in to cancel culture. That won't happen again from me. You can assure that. 100%. You won't see me doing that. So don't worry about it. And other people don't want to talk about it. I felt like I'd speak about it just one time, on the one time, because I understand that it's drama to a lot of you, but for a lot of other people, them especially, this is real life.
You hear that, guys? You can trust him. He's not going to feed into cancel culture again. Well, I'm not going to go further into his whole stream, because it's him repeating everything else over and over again. Basically, he admits that what him announcing his opinion publicly, it was a mistake, and he'll try to be careful next time. But this whole thing, I would like to point out that this whole thing really isn't drama, and I know for them that it's not drama, and I know for some people that they look at it, it's drama. But this whole thing is never about drama. This is a man whose career could have been ended if he hasn't defended himself, if he hasn't been able to muster the strength to put up a video and give his side of the story. The mental gymnastics that the kid is going through is beyond my level of comprehension. Knowing the fact that he had to wake up every day, having his friends betray him and backstab him, and he has at least no one to trust to in the community. Another content creator in full support of Shay, which I honestly did not expect this from happening, was King Anna. Now, for those who don't know who King Anna is, well, still in the commentary community. But when this whole thing dropped, she supported Shay. But even after, when Michael came out, or Slazo came out with his response, her defense to defend Shay is the level of fuckery that I cannot begin to describe. Like, I had to wipe my glasses just to see she's not bullshitting or nothing. She said, in regards to the Slazo situation, Michael is still guilty for what he did in the past, whether Shay intentionally or accidentally left some bits out. What? What the fuck? Are you out of your fucking mind? Are you for real? Are you kidding me? How many bullshit videos have you made until your brain becomes the mush? Because that comment alone is just awful. Then if she did that, then there's holes in her argument, which makes her not credible. Oh my god. He still admitted to it in the video, but people are glossing over it. You are glossing over the fact that she lied. We're not glossing over the fact that he made some off-color joke. You're glossing over the fact that she lied. But people, I'm sorry. He gaslighted Shay, which is a form of manipulation. Well, Gaslighting is a form of manipulation. It's just that Shay did it to Slazo, especially in the Instagram DMs. If someone talked to me like that in a relationship, I would have left. Would you? Would you really left? Like, let's just ignore the fact that putting into a 14 or 16-year-old shoes. Let's just put in the shoes of a 22-year-old and base off of that. How about we do that? Furthermore, there were just jokes. They were just jokes. Would you really leave a man for making a joke? Yes, they were kind of off color, but jokes are jokes. What the fuck? But Shay was 14 and she knew no better, while Slazo was 16 and he also knew no better. So they were both teenagers. That's a massive mentally difference during those ages. Really? Really? 2 years? 2 years difference? They're both teenagers. Like, of course a 16-year-old is gonna know a little bit more than a 14-year-old, but that 16-year-old is gonna do some teenager shit. Are you kidding me? Now, I understand if Slazo was 50-year-old, a 50-year-old man, 40 years of dating experience, he got game in an early age, let's say that, and he's picking up a 20-year-old chick. That is a massive mental difference. 16, 14-year-old is not that big of a difference. Also, that's not how I remember it is a shit rebuttal. It is if you don't have evidence to back up for it. Slazo did say that's not how I remember it, or that's not how it was intended. He showed evidence. He showed DMs. It's not a shit rebuttal if you have DMs to back up your claim. At this point, it's he said, she said. Yeah, I would say some parts of it is he said, she said, but Slazo has more evidence to back up his story more than Shay. I'm sticking with my friend Shay, so Shay may have made some mistakes. May have? We're treating like she broke some vase on accident. She made a false allegation, okay? This isn't just some mistake. Oh no, of course, what mistakes did she make? Was it her lying about having multiple relationships? Was it her scrolling through her Discord DMs to fit for her own narrative? Or is it her gaslighting Slazo in the Instagram DMs? Which is it? Because if those were mistakes, then that's fucking hilarious. Because these are not mistakes. These are ill intentions. I don't want to be around someone who treats someone they're supposed to love like that. I hope he gets some therapy to sort out his issues. Let's be honest here, Anna. You don't care about Slazo. You supported a false sexual assault allegation. You knew Shay lied. You knew Shay left some bits out. You knew. Don't go parading around hoping Slazo gets some help. No. You are in support of false sexual allegations. That is it. Now, there is one person in her comment section that gratefully called Anna out. I'm going to leave it here. It's from Unreality. She said, Anna, I say this with every ounce of respect I can scrape together for you. When it comes to this situation, this is a shit response. Slazo fucked up, yes, but Shay fucked up way worse. I'm glad she came out about it because he should get slapped around a bit for what he did. But Shay heavily manipulated the situation. She was bitter at him. Slazo provides a screenshot that proves this. For his success, he tried to handle things professionally and offline/privately, but who refused? Shay. Even more so, she had whom convinced it was settled, and she came out after the fact. She didn't even hide her clearly manipulating the situation in her video to prove the screenshots were real. She scrolled really fast at certain areas, which already raised a plethora of red flags for me. But innocent people don't stay quiet for so long, right? That mindset is toxic. You and all of your other friends are being annoyingly toxic in this situation. A half-assed response to a man whose career very likely could have been ended because of a half-assed accusation, which had more holes than Slazo's side. She intentionally left She intentionally left out scenes. There's no denying it. No use trying to deny it. Stand with her all you want, but if her story falls apart, I'm going to tell you this. You just supported someone making other girls who come out about shit like this look like a fucking joke. Instead of publicly blasting Slazo like this, why wouldn't you take it up with him personally? Why was nobody talking to him personally before putting him on blast? You're a fucking adult. Act like one next time. This unreality. Bravo to you, because this was the best response I've ever seen from the comment section. It really took the words out of my mouth, and really represents everyone's frustration over her comment and the Slazo situation. Now another thing to point out is that Anna helped Shay put out her statement, or at least helped her come out alongside with Stolen Dark. Now I would roast Stolen Dark a bit, but he did realize that Shay left some things out and was basically egged on. So he admitted his own fault. So I'm not going to roast him there. However, it seems like Anna doesn't seem like she's going to apologize for her actions and still going to back Shay up. So, well, her career's done, I guess. Now, one final person that should be noted is I'm Alex. Now, for those who don't know who I'm Alex is, I'm Alex has over 1.6 million subscribers, and he has a huge following. He's also in the commentary community. He's also infamous for not doing a lot of research in most of his videos. One especially with his Tati and James Charles video, where at first he jumped the gun supporting Tati, where she basically gave no evidence to support her claim. Basically telling all of his fans, his following, that James Charles is a monster according to Tati, and he believed it, and is also monetized. While the next video he made, he defended James Charles, but yet the video that he had was still monetized.
Million views, still up, still gaining money with plenty of mid-roll ads. You even made a video apologizing about making that video.
In James's video, he went through every single allegation that actually mattered, the ones about him being a sexual predator, and he pretty much debunked all of them with receipts and screenshots on screen.
But you're still making money off that video. You're profiting off of false sexual predator allegations that you made and retracted, but you're still making money on it. I mean, could you not at least take the mid-rolls off? Are you trying to make it that obvious?
So you would think after a royal fuck-up, you live and you learn like many other people. Well, not according to I'm Alex. When Shay released her first tweet longer, he was in full support of Shay. And even after Slazo put up his video giving his side of the story with evidence, he still fully supports Shay and still pushes the false allegation Shay has made. It's just mind-boggling. He even put up a Twitter video giving I'm Alex's opinion of his side.
A statement because of the fact that obviously I came out and supported Shay when she posted her tweet longer, and obviously now Michael's video has come out where he's debunked.
Sorry, I had a comment on this one. He did air quotes debunked. Alright, whatever, man.
Some of the things that were put in there. First of all, I already knew that some of the screenshots that were used in Shay's tweet longer were jokes. I was very much aware of that. But I never had an issue with that, and I want to make that clear. Stupid jokes are stupid jokes. I don't think that's the problem. My problem with Michael was him admitting to doing things that he knew Shay may not have wanted to do, and being incredibly forceful and almost demanding, which he admitted to doing in his video, which for me is still disgusting.
So you're telling me that he admitted for doing things that Shay may not want to do? Well, which is it? Because the only thing that we heard of is it's the brawl story and the movie theater part, which were debunked heavily. Slazo never did what Shay accused him of. You are spreading false information. The only thing Slazo has ever done was just being a bad boyfriend, and you say that it's disgusting that he was a bad boyfriend at 16? Oh, I'm so sorry that you have to unfriend a guy who was a bad boyfriend at the age of 16. Let's not give him a chance to better himself.
I don't believe he's innocent. I don't think he's innocent at all. Che may not also be innocent and may have hid stuff and used jokes to try and maybe push a certain agenda. But at the same time, the stuff that Michael admitted to is stuff that makes me not want to be friends with somebody who is capable of doing those things, even the things he admitted to.
Come on, guys. Shay may have lied. Shay may have hid some stuff, but let's overshadow that. Let's overshadow that, please. We're trying to make Slazo a monster here. Oh God, we don't want to be friends with someone controlling.
I really hope he gets help, because nobody should just carry on doing what he did, and he should try and improve himself. But I personally don't want anything to do with somebody who even managed to admit to some of the stuff that he had apparently done. And that's literally it.
And then he went further to saying, TLDR, I never accused Michael of anything, but what he has admitted to personally makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to be around anyone like that. Hopefully that's understandable. I do hope he gets help at controlling himself better, as everyone should try to improve. Yeah, you're never gonna let him try to improve. You're gonna keep continuing pushing this false accusation until his career is ruined. You know, it's really contradicting, isn't it? You say you want him to improve himself, yet you're not allowing it, won't you? You won't, because it's never enough. It's never enough for you. He then went on to say, I don't know why I have to make this clear, but I don't want to be friends with someone who admits to be a controlling of a 14-year-old. Notice how he didn't say that Slazo was 16. He's trying to paint him as if Slazo is a creep. Can you tell us that? Will you tell everyone else that he was 16? How many fans had bought onto this bullshit? This is in his video. I didn't realize people had missed that. That's all I have to say. I know these people personally. It's not black and white. Yeah, you know these people personally. And then when you have the opportunity to get close to them, you backstab them. You leave them out in the dirt. Like Slazo. You collabed with Slazo. Hell, you even lived with Slazo for a month. And now look what happened. You were his friend. You backstabbed him. You can say you knew him personally, but you wanted to get rid of him, didn't you? You can already tell that there is a recurring theme going on here with Anna, I'm Alex, and a few others. They all had one thing in common. They knew Shay lied. They knew she hid some things, they knew she took things out of context, and regardless of that fact, they still believed in her. Why? They want to get rid of Slazo for a deeper and darker reason. That's what I'm thinking of, because there's no way a rational human being will look at both sides, with one side having things that are taken out of context and the other side showing mountains of evidence, and believe on the one that has less context. Like how? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the only logical explanation that I can think of is that they're trying to get rid of him. For what? And they're using the fact that he was 16 at the time and she was 14, a teenage relationship, to get rid of him. Like, he shouldn't have to go through this. Like, most of us, like, not me, I'm single, by the way, I've never been in a relationship. I'm just a lonely incel. But for real, most of the people who'd been in a relationship, their first relationship, 9 times out of 10, sucked. They were a bad boyfriend or a girlfriend. Like, let's not ignore that fact that most people's first relationship wasn't the greatest because A, they didn't know what to do, and B, they didn't know like how this shit was going to become. And then you have people like I'm Alex, who has less personality of a Dunsparce, and Anna and Blues Dank Westerner, people who continue to support Shay in this. They're pushing this false accusation that Shay has been painting Slazo as a monster. And enough is enough. They should not walk away acting like what they have done was the most morally uprising thing to do in their minds. Walking around VidCon acting like they're, I don't know, fucking deities. Meanwhile, Slazo is out over at his house crying himself to sleep, knowing the fact that his used to be friends are having fun and him just in pain. Imagine that. Like, they're not taking responsibility, and they will not take responsibility, and we need to hold them accountable. Oh my god, I'm so done. I'm done. Like, I've gone long enough. Like, this is BS. Now I know there's more to it. I know there's going to be some new updates from Shay, and it's going to be some new information regarding from the first Twitlonger and the other content creators that were involved in it. And I'm going to cover that as well, because from what I've seen, it's not looking good. Oh shit. You know as they say, never meet your own heroes. Is that the quote? I don't know. I'm too lazy to look it up. But anywho, if you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it for listening, for me being angry at this whole thing. I really do hope Slazo turn around with this. He gets better from this. And I hope the people that push this false accusations, Shay, Anna, I'm Alex, those people, I hope they find themselves accountable. I really do. Because we cannot let this shit slide. So many times people have been accused of false sexual assault allegations, like Johnny Depp and Vic Mignogna, the voice actor of Broly. They have been accused of these things, and people have left them or quote unquote canceled them. But it later turns out that it's not that way. And you know what happens when the people that were accused gave their side and it turns out that they were right? You know what happens to the people that canceled them, per se? They stay silent. They don't talk about it because they don't want to admit that they were wrong. And this is what's happening to Slazo right now. There is a pattern here. And people need to see that.